All right, boys and girls, welcome to the ninth episode of Screaming into the Void. My name is Samuel the Infamous, and with me, as always, is Maesterchow.
Party on, Wayne.
Party on, Garth. Good to see everybody here. I got a little bit of housekeeping I got to do at the top of the show here. Some of you may have noticed that episode 8 is no longer available. We did not get copyright struck. There were no issues with content or anything of that nature. What it was I gave away a little bit too much geographical information at the towards the end of the show when we were talking about specific things, and I wasn't super comfortable with that, so I pulled the episode. You guys have my word. If anything like that happens, it's because I choose to, not because someone's making me.
Yeah, damn right.
So, until I figure out how to clip some of that stuff out, because still kind of new to this, it's probably going to stay down. It may stay down indefinitely. We'll see what happens. But trust me, you're not missing much, and anything that was important in that we may go over again in the future. In fact, I know for a fact that Carrie wants to come on and talk about SSRIs and school shooting kind of stuff.
Yeah,
get a hold of me later.
kind of feel bad we left him out of that conversation.
I think his internet was all wonky that weekend, and and for those of you who are going to join us on the Lioness program later tonight, I don't believe Carrie will be with us then either, because he texted me earlier and said he's got COVID. So, yeah. So I imagine he's doing sick. If you're out there and listening, Carrie, feel better soon, and hope to hear from you soon.
Kick in the ass, man.
Yeah. All right. That said, we are swimming without floaters today. So here we go.
I got one. All
right.
Let's discuss the greatest Star Trek movie of all time, Galaxy Quest. Because you cannot tell me that is not the greatest Star Trek movie ever made.
I think that certainly.
Yep, you're muted, Sam.
Yeah, that's because I accidentally kicked my microphone free. So, technical difficulties, the hallmark of a great show.
It just keeps them on their toes.
Yeah, the surprises abound. That said, I think that it's definitely the greatest Trek fan movie ever made. Yeah, absolutely. And I don't mean that in a sense that it's a fan made, but it made for the fans.
Yeah.
It absolutely pays a lot of respect to the franchise, to the ideas behind it, and also to the people who love it, which is the important thing. A lot of times you see movies that talk about fandoms, and they tend to be either made by fans, right, and real niche stuff too. So they'll be making cracks about what kind of specific dilithium crystal you need to achieve a specific warp speed during such and such specific circumstances in a lightning storm in space or whatever. Very, very specific stuff. So if you're not one of them, you're not going to get it. But with Galaxy Quest, it's accessible to everyone.
Yep. And it's just super fun. I mean, it's one of those movies that I think I know when they made it, they were probably just wanting to be a little tongue in cheek about things, but they really pulled together a great cast and they made a great movie. And I get it. This movie came out in frickin' 1999. All right. I mean, it's an old ass movie, but the fact of the matter is it still holds water today because you look at the bullshit that Hollywood churns out these days, and you've got to go back in time to find a good movie anymore.
Yep. And that one came out. That was right at the end of the last century, beginning of the next one, and right about the turn from when. So CGI was a thing in the 80s, but it wasn't as widely used because the technology wasn't very good. The main pioneer for that, a lot of people want to give ILM credit for that, but it was really James Cameron's team.
With you.
Well, I mean, like the Abyss, which a lot of the effects in that were a dry run for what he did later in T2.
That's true.
And all of that stuff led up to ILM kind of got a hold of that, and then you got later on, you had places like Pixar and that sort of thing that really ran with the CGI 3D imaging.
Right.
Um,
Well, and then you look at
and
what digital does.
yeah,
Oh,
and they came right out of that. A lot of the guys who started up Weta were ILM,
yeah.
and they perfected some of that technology. And this was right about at the cusp of that. It was because Weta was in operation at the time Galaxy Quest came out.
Yep.
I don't think that the first movie had been released yet in the Lord of the Rings series, but they had already been working on it for years at that point.
I think the Fellowship came out 1 or 2 years after Galaxy Quest did.
Yeah, yeah. Fellowship was in what, 01, 02, 01?
I believe 01.
Yeah. So, but they had already gotten to a point like where you know, CGI effects were starting to bridge the gap between, of the uncanny valley where your eyes, just know that what you're looking at isn't real.
Right.
And I specifically in this case, of course, refer to the character of Gollum in those movies, and later on in the rebooted Planet of the Apes series, where the main character again was played by Andy Serkis, weirdly. Um,
I think he
where
just likes being in that mocap suit.
Yeah, I mean they did an amazing job with those, but everything since then has kind of been a hodgepodge mishmash of shit.
Fair.
I mean, they haven't made any progress on this technology in any noticeable way. I mean, look at the new Disney Plus shows; they're terrible in terms of CGI.
I try not to watch any of the new Disney Plus shows.
Sure, I'm not
I try to
talking
put
about
that
anything
on
other
that.
than the
That's about
production
all
of it.
further I'll go.
Yeah, anything other than the production of it itself. Like it looks cheap. It looks poorly done. It looks like they've got half a team running on half a day's sleep.
Right. And for some reason, any big bad they make always looks like a damn cave troll.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
I'm saying.
Yeah, and that's exactly it. Like you take Batman versus Superman from that was what 2015,
I believe so.
give or take. Which, by the way, 2015 was the last year that they made movies that didn't cater to a specific minority branch. But in that particular one, Doomsday shows up. Right, spoiler alert for anybody who hasn't seen this piece of shit. Doomsday shows up about about 2/3 of the way through the movie, and he looks like a fucking cave troll.
Yeah, like exactly like the cave troll. It's kind of sad.
Holy,
Just waiting for a couple of short motherfuckers to pop out with a ring and throw into a volcano at that point.
right, and that's and that's and then it gets even goofier because he starts with the face lasers and all that shit, and
It really bothered me that they tried to stuff the entire Death of Superman arc into that like little Act 3 part of the movie.
not just the entire death of Superman. They stuffed like a lot of the important plot points from the Dark Knight Returns in there too, which, by the way, is a much bigger story.
Yeah.
But that aside, so we're going back to was it 99, 2000?
With Galaxy Quest 99.
99 with Galaxy Quest. Galaxy Quest was, and they made a lot of use of. There was plenty of CGI in that movie, but they also were still using practical effects that were designed to invoke the hokiness of the Star Trek and science fiction series of the 50s and 60s.
Yep.
And they did it very well and believably.
I think so. I mean, that it's got Tony Shalhoub in it. It's hard to go wrong with Tony Shalhoub.
I can't argue really with any of the casting in that movie. Any of it. It also has a young Justin Long before his balls dropped, and you can tell because his voice is cracking the whole movie. And I don't think all of that was affected.
Well, yeah.
So no, good movie, and what made it better was that it wasn't just a movie about a specific fan set, and it wasn't just a movie that was kind of riffing on long-running franchises. It was a love letter to fans and to creators and to everyone who loved these things.
It's like giving Gene Roddenberry posthumous honors.
Yeah, It was a wonderful movie. In fact, there are people who have been involved with Star Trek before and since who have said very much the same thing.
Yeah.
That it is the best Trek movie ever made. Now, I will say, if you haven't watched any Star Trek, while it is accessible to everybody, it's more enjoyable if you've got some of that background with you.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. I mean, because it just looks like a hokey, schlocky space comedy if you don't know a little bit about Star Trek. Whereas if you're a little bit of a Trekkie, I mean, not like total Trekkie, you don't have to go down that rabbit hole all the way like I did, but it really helps to have that background.
Man, I grew up with a mother who grew up on Star Trek, and I mean the original series when it aired between I think 67 and 69.
Yeah.
Or was it 60? Yeah, it was 66 to 68, I think. And and she grew up on these things. She dragged me to all of the movies when they came out in the 80s and 90s. The original cast movies.
Yeah.
And eventually the Next Generation movies. We watched the Next Generation religiously every night that it aired in 1980, from 1987 to 1994.
Yep. Same here. I watched almost all of the Next Generation as it was airing.
I will have to take your word for it because I am not paying for another subscription service. That's not happening. Josh, I have heard that Brave New Worlds is not as
woke
bad as some of the others, as STD, as I like to call it, or as that ridiculous cartoon comedy that they were doing Below Decks.
Yeah.
I did see a little bit of that, and I mean, it was like Ren and Stimpy in space. It was retarded.
Yeah. Hey, you can't use that word, dude.
I just did. I make no apologies for that. It was retarded in the truest sense of the word. It was slow and impeded.
Yeah. Well, that's because they have to, fit all those identity politics into it.
Oh yeah,
and it's hard to have a good narrative when you got to cater to everybody.
Yeah, and YouTube, by the way, when I say slow, I mean retarded.
Well, I think we might have touched a nerve. We're losing some viewers here.
Oh yeah, maybe. So that said, as far as losing viewers goes, I would rather people stuck around and told me what they thought. But if somebody wants to go, if they got offended or whatever, that's their prerogative. I have no issue with that, no quarrel with that. I will say, however, that I'm not apologizing for shit.
Yep.
And I don't think they should either.
Yeah.
I think that a hollow apology is worthless, and I will not lean into that. So, but yeah. So, Josh, I haven't seen any of the new show. I think it's called Strange New Worlds, right? So when we're Pike's running around still in charge of the Enterprise.
Yep.
I think it's supposed to take place between the original pilot of the original series, which didn't actually air until well after the series did, but which ties into an episode called The Menagerie, which is excellent, by the way, if y'all haven't seen it. But so this would take place in between that time period while Pike's still captain, which, yeah, Kirk wasn't even involved in that, so I don't know if he's on this new show or not. But
I doubt it.
So, but yeah, I don't know. It may be. I will probably not see it unless it comes out on some other free thing at some point, because I'm already like up to my gills with subscription. It's starting to look like my old cable bill.
Right. Yeah, we used to get rid of cable and stuff and get these subscriptions to cut the wire, but man, it's just getting all those channels. You're back up to damn near cable bill.
Yeah,
it's ridiculous.
Yeah, so I don't know. It's I think though Galaxy Quest was probably you're right, probably the best of the Trek movies, because I'm looking at all the Trek movies, right? So the first one was special because of what it was, but it was actually really, really boring, like a Stanley Kubrick movie.
Yeah.
It was too long. There's a whole 20-minute section where Spock's in an EVA suit with a jetpack floating towards a nebulous cloud for 20 solid minutes. And I'm talking real time here, not screen time.
Yeah, you're just waiting for, also Spock Zarathustra to start playing in the background.
Right, and it's beautiful. It is a beautiful shot, but there was no reason.
It doesn't 20 damn minutes long.
Right. So and then some of the stuff with V'ger I thought was really interesting, but they really kind of took a long time to get to the point in that movie.
What does God need with a starship?
That was part 5, but yes,
Yes,
uh, that was, um, and then the second one is renowned as one of the best science fiction movies ever made, The Wrath of Khan.
I
I
would
pers-
definitely do that one.
I agree. I agree that it is one of the best, but I actually it's not my favorite. A lot of other people think that it's the best one ever made. I disagree. I think it's great. I do. But I actually like The Search for Spock Part 3 better.
Really? Because
Yeah.
see, I don't know, man. I thought the search for Spock was kind of dumb. I mean,
I will
you
give you that the Deus Ex
Spock,
Machina in that movie was garbage. The Genesis device was kind of like
yeah,
retarded. But
trash.
but no, what I'm referring to is a lot of the stuff, because we're talking about right after Spock has died, right? So Bones and McCoy, the two best friends he ever had, are broken men.
Yeah.
And then they get into it with this Klingon captain. I think his name was Korg, played by Christopher Lloyd.
Hmm.
And Christopher Lloyd then murders the son that Kirk just found out he had, and breaks him even further. And he still manages to rise above, even though rise above and defeat the guy. Of course, they also blew up the Enterprise in that for the first time too.
Welcome home, Carrie. Good to have you.
Good to see you, buddy. Hope you're feeling well. Uh, I told everybody, your personal details. So, sorry. I'm kidding. I did let them know you weren't feeling great, but yeah, we're glad to see you here. Um, so, and then, by the end of that movie, they obviously they end up taking over the Klingon ship, and then in the next one, they take it back in time to save the whales, which is one of my least favorite movies, by the way. I've watched it again. It's not as bad as I thought it was when I was a kid, but it's still not my
It's
favorite.
still really bad.
You know,
Star
uh,
Trek wheels.
yeah, and then you get the one that Kirk decided, or that not Kirk, Shatner decided that he wanted to be totally hands-on with, which was the Final Frontier, where they go to find God,
Yeah.
which on the surface is not a terrible idea, but the execution in that movie and the character of Spock's, psychotic half brother,
Yeah.
who nobody had ever heard of before, which is, by the way, part of the big problem I have with STD. Suddenly, he's got a foster sister that, again, no one's ever heard of before, and she has no idea who Cybok is.
Yeah. That's weird.
Yeah, no, it's called retconning.
Mhm.
um, and that one was it had moments, but it was not a great movie. But the one that followed is probably my favorite, The Undiscovered Country, Part 6.
Yeah.
That movie's fantastic. And oh man, I forget the name of the actor who played General Chang, but what a villain! Right up there with Khan.
Well, no, let me find out that actor. Yeah, see,
Christopher
that's the
Plummer.
problem with just about everything in Hollywood these days is they're making things off these old IPs and just retconning the hell out of them, and it makes it crap, makes it absolute utter crap. It there hasn't been a new idea in Hollywood in decades.
Yeah, yeah, and that's the shame. That's the shame of it, and especially when it comes to Disney in particular. A lot of people like to look at Disney and they're like, "Oh, they make all these fun stuff." I was like, "You need to look at their entire catalog. Almost everything they've done outside of Mickey and the gang has been taken from someone else's work from the
Yep.
beginning. Snow White, Sleeping Beauty. Um, I think the only one I can think of off the top of my head that was totally original was probably maybe 1,001 Dalmatians or Lady and the Tramp. Lady and the Tramp came first.
A
Yeah,
thousand one might be a little much.
well, 101, whatever. I don't know. There was a lot of puppies, and they all were slated to be part of some coat. So whatever. Uh,
But yet they had to, go make that movie Cruella to try and paint her as just a misunderstood fashion designer. Yeah,
right.
whatever.
Well, I think even like you remember the Rescuers?
Yeah, yeah,
Okay, so I think even that book was based, or that movie was based on a children's book.
probably.
You know, so like and we're talking way back, towards the beginning. Like I think Sleeping Beauty came out in what 1930, 40 something, right? They'd been around for a long
Before
time.
I was alive.
Yeah. So yeah, it's just they have never been about originality. So if anybody goes into any of the stuff that they're doing now and thinking that they're going to do some great original thing, they aren't. They're, I mean, hell, in the last 10 years, like you just brought up Cruella, they are redoing their own shit.
Yeah, because they don't have any fresh ideas. 1959 is when Sleeping Beauty came out.
Yeah. Still, I mean, a while back, right? I
Yeah.
think Steamboat Willie, which was the debut of Mickey Mouse, was a few decades before that.
Hmm.
But that was back when Walt Disney was still in charge of everything, and he was still creating new characters. Um, Man, they just they've leaned into it. Even the Lion King, as great as that movie is, the Lion King is Hamlet, folks.
Yeah, yeah, it is.
Straight up.
And the Lion King 1.5 is basically talking about Rosencrantz and Guildenstern,
Mm-hmm.
and it's so much fun. That is my favorite Lion King movie.
Yeah, Carrie, you're right. It is Christopher Plummer. Yeah,
Yep.
not well. It's
I,
Christopher. It's not Christopher.
Christopher Plummer. It's kind of like Basil Fawlty.
Right. So, but yeah, it's good stuff in terms of Galaxy Quest. Because like after the Undiscovered Country, which was excellent by the way,
Yep.
then you get into Generations where they tried to cross over and also they murdered Kirk.
Well, if you think about it, tying in Kirk's death in that way, it's not so much that they tried to murder him; it's that they, I don't know, kind of explained what happened when he got ripped off the Enterprise B.
Sure, I get that, but the way he went out at the end of that movie, he went out like a bitch.
I don't know. He beat the shit out of Malcolm McDowell for a minute, so
Kind of.
after McDowell, slapped Picard around like a little bitch.
Yeah. And the only saving grace was his slap in the face to George Takei.
No, we didn't forget Star Trek 4, Joshua. We just choose to ignore it because
Yeah.
it's probably the worst of the Star Trek movies.
If you want to know my feelings on that, Josh, I'm not a green freak. I don't give a fuck about whales. I mean, that's not to say that I think we should be out wiping them out or anything, but like, I don't need a whole science fiction movie in one of my favorite franchises telling me that we're monsters and we're murdering all of the cetaceous sea life.
Yeah.
It's not something that I needed from a science fiction film. I really didn't. I'm fully aware that science fiction does in fact shine a light on current things. That is one of the things that it has always done, and that is true. However, it usually does it in a timeless way, as opposed to hitting the same nail with the same hammer over and over and over again. Like driving the point home that is very, very specific to a very specific time, which is something STD is very bad about. And Picard, oh, don't get me started on that piece of shit.
Yeah, I refuse to watch that because I don't want to see them ruin one of my favorite captains.
I watched the first season and I overlooked a lot of awful, awful things because I wanted to be happy to see all of these characters again. And then I watched it a second time and realized how much awful shit I overlooked the first time. And I will never watch another episode of that again.
Yeah.
It was a complete deconstruction of everything.
They done did Picard dirty on that one.
I will give you that. That was one of the greatest lines in Star Trek history. I will give you that. And yeah, Carrie, we you missed it a little bit ago. We did talk about V'ger. I do like the V'ger stuff, but I didn't like watching Spock floating in space for 20 minutes. Straight.
Yeah, all of Stanley Kubrick.
Yeah, that right there. That's why that show sucks. I do not follow Mecha Random, Carrie. I did for a little while a couple years ago. Something about the girl just rubs me the wrong way. I mean, she's in a lot of ways we agree on a lot of stuff. I just don't really like her personality that much. So I don't follow a lot of her stuff anymore. I do follow a lot of the same people in the same kind of circles, though.
So, do you watch the Nerd Cookies channel?
On occasion, yeah, I was subscribed to her for a little while, a while back.
I really love her breakdowns of things.
Yeah, she's pretty good. But yeah, as far as Mecha Random goes, it's like she's usually on point. She usually knows her stuff, but I think she gets a little too in the weeds and up in arms against fellow YouTubers, and that's something that I don't really want any part of. So I just plus she does have a very abrasive personality. You know,
Fair.
I mean, some people have said that about me too. So whatever.
Gee, I couldn't imagine where they got that idea.
I'll,
I
call
will
it
not
being a dick.
apologize. That's being a dick.
Yeah. So, yeah, and if she hates Picard, then great, because it sucks.
Yeah.
It's terrible, and she's not wrong.
They're going into what, season 3 of that now?
Season 3, I think, has already been filmed. It hasn't been released yet.
God.
Yeah, I don't even know why I keep track of this shit, because I don't want anything to do with it. But it is what it is.
I think it's because we're gluttons for punishment.
Right, and when I'm not doing political stuff with Lioness, then usually I spend most of my time watching shit like Geeks and Gamers.
Yeah.
Or The Critical Drinker is a big favorite of mine.
Yeah, I love that guy. He's hilarious.
Quite good. Actually, I've been meaning to check out some of his books. I don't usually go in for spy thrillers, but he's got a pretty good understanding of how a story should be structured and how characters should work. And so I'd be interested to see how that plays out in something he's written. So
no, fair enough.
All that, and I'm kind of looking into that. Yeah, that's I was not that much older than you, Joshua, at the time. It was like, I wish I was a dick. Yeah, you're right. Compared to you, Carrie, we're all pussies. So, but yeah. So they get into the shit with the ribbon thing, that the ribbon in space that eats planets.
The Nexus.
That's it. Yeah, the Nexus. Can you tell it's been a minute since I watched that?
I literally just watched it, so.
Yeah. And then you get into the next gen movies, and some of those are good. Some of them are really not.
I thought First Contact was pretty well done.
First Contact is excellent. It is. It's probably it's up there in terms of like the better Star Trek movies. It surely is. Insurrection is like watching a very long 2-part episode that didn't have much going on.
Yeah.
It was. I mean, there were a couple of really great character moments in that, but it was pretty boring. And they crashed the Enterprise again.
I think that's just par for the course these days. If they don't break the Enterprise, they're not doing their job right.
Yeah. Really? Huh. Cool.
Thanks.
Yeah, I spend a lot of more time interacting with like Ryan Kinnell over there than a lot of than most of the others, but yeah, they've got a bunch of people behind the scenes too that I don't know. So, but then you got Nemesis, and I'm a little torn on Nemesis.
Yeah,
because
we're all a little torn on Nemesis.
There are things that happen in that movie that were bullshit, straight up.
Yeah.
And they were trying to lean into this whole Picard as an action hero thing, which, by the way, he isn't. That's not his character.
No, that's why he gets slapped around by Malcolm McDowell in Generations, and Kirk kicks his ass. So
right, but I have to say, that was Tom Hardy's movie debut. That was the first movie he was in, and he nailed
a lot of drugs at the time.
He was, but he nailed that character.
Yeah, Shinzon was pretty good.
I thought Shinzon was great. I would say that the rest of the remans were kind of but Shinzon,
I'd have to go back and watch it again, honestly.
Yeah, and also it brought us one of my favorite ships of all time, which was Shinzon's flagship. Oh man, what a sexy spaceship that is.
Fair enough.
Also, it's a planet killer.
See, and that's what I loved about Nero's ship in the Kelvin timeline. I loved it. I mean, other than the fact that it had Eric Bana piloting it, but whatever. Having Romeo as his first mate was great.
Yeah. So, and then that's and then you get the JJ stuff.
Yeah.
And the very first of those movies, I bought into like everybody else did. It was exciting. It was fun. It was when you go back and watch it again, obviously there are some giant Deus Ex Machina, crap in that with the red matter.
Yeah.
I mean, that was not great, and they did spend a little bit too much time and money on camera flares, lens
Yeah.
flares.
Yeah. I don't know what J.J. Abrams' obsession is with camera flares or lens flares, but it's stupid.
Um, just so we're clear here, Carrie, you do know that Endgame's from a totally different shitty franchise, right?
Star
I
Trek,
say,
buddy. Star Trek.
yeah, I say shitty. I actually did enjoy most of the MCU up to that point, and a couple of things past it, but everything since has been not fun. But
You
that's
know,
neither here nor there.
might be an unpopular opinion. I actually kind of enjoyed Hawkeye.
Yeah, it's pretty unpopular.
I mean, it wasn't great, but it was fun. I thought it was fun.
Yeah, and that's I'm gonna echo some of the other pundits on YouTube here when I say this. It's like if you enjoy something, enjoy it. Don't let
Oh
anybody
God,
tell
I
you
hate
different.
the finale of Voyager. Jesus,
Yeah,
I
but just
forgot about that episode.
just if you do enjoy it, enjoy what you like. Don't let anybody tell you different. There's no reason you can't enjoy something.
Right.
Uh,
I just know it's not everyone's cup of tea. I mean,
yeah.
but I thought the relationship between Florence Pugh and Haley Steinfeld was actually pretty fun. Although having Kingpin pop in at the last moment there was kind of weird.
Yep. Yep. Also, it's not. It strikes me because a lot of these shows they have in a title character, but the shows end up not being about that character.
Right. Right.
Which is
Well, now that everything's tracking over to the MCU, it's like all right, now we got to get the girls involved and change everyone into female characters. Hey, I liked season 4 of DS9. I liked all of DS9.
wasn't season 4 where they really started getting into the Dominion War.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was great, man.
I mean, and that's what I loved about that entire show was it wasn't about exploration. It was about war. I mean, straight up about war.
Mm-hmm. Well, and it wasn't just about war. It was about war, and it was about the politics and the religions that were pushing the war, and it was about loyalties and betrayals. I mean, it was a big concept for a Star Trek show, for a show that normally did episodic things, as opposed to it was one of the.
And we got Space Karen out of it.
Yeah, and it was actually one of the earlier examples of an arc that ran through multiple seasons.
Yeah.
Not a lot of shows did that before Deep Space Nine. I would say concurrently, Babylon 5 was running concurrently, and they have a lot of things in common. And they also did that overarching story thing very well for the most part. But it was, before either of those shows, that wasn't really a thing in episodic television. So, but as far as season 4, that's when they really got into the Dominion War stuff. And I would argue, by the way, this is off topic, but it's on topic, so just bear with me. I know we're just kind of all over the place here. Leggett Damar's storyline is possibly the greatest character arc in that whole series.
Okay, explain.
Okay, so Damar is a subordinate of Dukat, right?
Right.
And he's happy to do his job, and he's in the background, and he comes up once in a while. You don't really notice him too much. Now, when Cardassia Prime makes a deal to join the Dominion and allow them to establish a foothold in the Alpha Quadrant, and then they force Dukat out because they're just like, oh yeah, we can't have this guy because he's going to try and take everything over, and we don't want that because we want to be in charge, kind of thing. But so they remove Dukat, he gets exiled. And they put Damar in his place. And Damar starts seeing what's happening on Cardassia Prime, on the main Cardassian colonies, how his people are being relegated to fourth-class citizens in their own empire.
Mm-hmm.
And he just starts regretting it. And you can tell that he's racked with guilt. And then he starts drinking.
Fair enough.
And for almost half a season, you never see the guy without a bottle in his hand.
Yeah.
And he just gets mean and sarcastic, and he does his job. He does what he's told, but he does it with spite, and he does it without conviction. And at a certain point, and I think this was probably closer to the midpoint of season 6, I want to say, maybe a little earlier than that, he actively starts working against the Dominion.
Yeah.
And eventually helps liberate Cardassia and becomes a hero to his people.
Fair enough.
So yeah, I would argue that Damar has one of the greatest character arcs in Deep Space Nine.
Oh, I can agree with that. I don't know.
Yeah.
My favorite character is still Garrick. I
Oh,
mean,
sure
he's
thing.
amazing.
Sure, but his character arc was pretty much I'm the quirky little tailor who might or might not have been a spy and an assassin, but I'll never actually tell you. Stringing along the naive young doctor with his stories of adventure.
And that's
Um,
what made him so great.
right,
And
but
the
that's
key is never tell the same lie twice.
right, but that's pretty much where he stayed until he had to confront Ephraim Zane, was it Zane or was it Dane? I don't remember. But anyway, the older Cardassian who may or may not have been his biological father.
Right.
You know, so but they really didn't do much with Garrick after that, aside from having him try to kill Rom or Nog rather.
Right. Right.
So, but yeah, Garrick was pretty cool. Uh, and they had a lot of great characters on that show. Cisco was probably one of my favorite captains in the entire franchise.
See, and I wasn't really a fan of Cisco to start with. I
Sure.
think he got better, but I mean, at the start of it, it was just kind of, well, lame. I mean, he had that big hard on against Picard for years because of what happened when Picard was locucious, and it just But he got better. He got way better. I will say that.
Yeah. Yeah. So I don't know. I thought like his initial arc with him being, he's posted way out here after the Battle of Wolf 359, in which, not only did his wife but his entire crew died.
Right.
Um, I mean, there might have been a few
And
other
he
survivors,
totally
but
blames Picard for all of that.
yes, and then to be posted and confirmed at his posting by the man who killed everybody he knew.
Yeah.
You know,
Talk
I
about
mean,
salt in the wound.
that was pretty intense. But you're right. At first when he's finding his footing and stuff, with the exception of when he's just telling Demar or Ducat to fuck off, because he does that a lot. Uh, when he's finding his footing and stuff, yeah, he's kind of mediocre. But when things really start to pick up with him, when they start dealing with the Maquis,
Yeah.
and he really comes into his own as a wartime captain.
Yep.
Even before the Dominion War. And I think he was a great character played by Avery Brooks, who is a fantastic actor, but a very strange human being.
Yeah. He's kind of a shit human being.
I would say that he's yeah, you're right in some ways, but in other ways, like the guy's a jazz musician,
Yeah. Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And if, from what I understand, a very accomplished one. The problem with that is that he's one of those guys who thinks in terms of jazz music. Like that's how he thinks. He like if you were to peek inside his head, you would see jazz musical notes,
Right.
and that's how he relates to everything.
Yeah.
Like have you ever listened to an interview with the guy? Because it is very hard to follow what he's saying.
It was like watching an interview with Charles Manson.
No, no, because I
Pretty hard
don't
to
think
follow what he's saying too.
I think even in Charles Manson's head, it doesn't make sense,
Yeah. No, it's just a bag of cats up there.
right?
It was.
So I think even in his head, he knows he's not making any sense. He just doesn't give a shit. I think in Avery Brooks' head, it does make sense to him because he understands jazz. I do not understand jazz, so no, I'm not getting it.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
So I just I don't like jazz music at all,
I
especially
I,
not
I wouldn't
freeform.
want to know that at all.
It's just noise. Um, so there's no structure to it. It's not music. I'm sorry. It's just not. Take it for what you will. You know?
I know. I agree. I agree. I mean, I like structured jazz. I enjoy structured jazz quite a bit.
Like Kenny G.
Freeform jazz, no, not like Kenny G. I mean, like the old guys from New Orleans. That's jazz. By the way, the captain's both a rank and a billet. Huh. Yeah.
Yeah, it is true. But in terms of story, because Cisco was commander, I think, for the first two seasons. He wasn't promoted to captain until the third season.
Yeah.
So while he was technically, I mean, Deep Space Nine wasn't a ship either; it was a space station, and he was the commander of the space station, which is
Right.
kind of an outpost, if you will. Um, but he still ranked over everybody there, and then he was promoted to captain in Starfleet, which so I can kind of see where you're going with that. But yeah, and then we got Enterprise. I'm skipping Voyager, by the way, because I may be one of the people on Earth who despises almost every second of that show.
Hey, there was one really great episode of that, and that was Sinkatse, because that had a very, very, very young Dwayne Johnson in it, and was great.
It was great because Dwayne Johnson was in it, or it was great because it was well written.
Actually, a little bit of both, because they put Seven of Nine in a arena and made her fight to the death, and I thought Jerry Ryan was a really great addition to that.
Yeah, I did remember that episode. There were oh yeah, now I remember a young Dwayne Johnson in Trek makeup.
Yeah,
Uh yeah. They had the big show on Enterprise playing a giant. What were those guys who were all green? Orion. He was playing
oh Jesus.
An Orion slaver, actually. Um, but yeah, there were a handful of episodes throughout the course of the series that were actually good. A lot of it was Janeway deliberately breaking
The Prime Directive.
the Prime Directive and
Yeah,
fucking over various species, um, including waking up certain species that maybe should have been left sleeping.
all right. So you need to check out a song by an artist named Aurelia Voltaire called "Screw the Ocampa, I Want to Go Home."
Right. Yeah. Um, but there were a handful of really good episodes. There was one in particular that had, oh, what was his? Brad Dourif. If y'all are familiar with Brad
Oh,
Dourif, he played Grima Wormtongue in The Lord of the Rings. But more importantly, he's also the voice of Chucky in the Child's Play movies.
yeah, yeah, and he played Piter DeVries in the David Lynch Dune.
Yeah, and actually a fantastic actor. He's a very good character actor.
Oh,
He
yeah,
played a serial killing betazoid.
which is awesome.
Not like Deanna Troy from TNG. He was full betazoid, which made him full telepathic, which means he could put thoughts into people's heads too, and cause them to do things. And he gets into it with Tuvok, who mind melts with this guy to disastrous effect.
Yeah,
Very good episode. I have to say, Tim Russ was awesome in that.
Tim Russ was like one of the only saving graces of that entire series.
Right.
He's a phenomenal actor.
Well, here's the thing:
Especially when you consider we ain't found shit.
yeah. Well, Janeway, the woman who plays Janeway. You know what, guys? I'm getting old, so forgive me for slipping on all the names here. But
Old
anyway,
man.
the lady who plays Janeway, I have seen her in a variety of things before and since, and she is also a very well trained, very good actress. The character was shit,
Yeah, yeah,
you know.
it really was.
So I mean, a lot of those guys on that show were very good. Tim Russ was probably the best of them in terms of like actual talent on display.
Kate Mulgrew, that's who played Janeway.
Yeah, yeah,
Sorry,
yeah. So, but yeah, and then they get to Enterprise, which was pretty boring until they get to the Xindi conflict.
Yeah, I don't know. I
Which,
watched Enterprise, so
yeah, it had moments. It had a few good standout episodes, but most of the time it was pretty. It was like first season SG-1
oh, fair enough.
kind of, which is still good, but it wasn't like on the quality that we had been used to.
Right.
And then they get to the Xindi conflict where this conglomerate of alien races send a doomsday weapon to Earth, and it carves a 700-kilometer like channel through Florida.
Jesus.
And they kill millions of people.
Yeah.
It
Never killed Florida, man.
it's like when the bugs in Starship Troopers drop an asteroid on Buenos Aires, right? Just gone. Which of course motivates Starfleet to be like, okay, we're going to war. you know and they got into some interesting stuff there, and I liked that. And the fourth season was actually picking up, which is the one that got canceled on.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
So
Was Enterprise on with Scott Bakula?
yes, it was.
I
And
might have
this,
to watch that because I like Scott Bakula.
well, I mean, he was better in Quantum Leap.
Yeah, but Quantum Leap was a great show.
Yeah, Quantum Leap was a great show. Um, but yeah, it's and then nothing until the J.J. Abrams movies show up, and they did the thing with the red matter, which was dumb, and the thing with Spock meeting Spock, which was also kind of paradoxian. They're like, oh no, there's no real paradox here. I was just fucking around.
Right.
It either is or it isn't, guys. Come on.
Yeah,
Um,
you can't have your cake and eat it too. I hate to break
yeah.
it.
Well, and otherwise, I would say as a standalone movie, it's not bad. It's really not. But as a Star Trek movie, the older I get and the more distance I get between me and it, I question the validity of that.
Fair enough.
And then of course they did their reboot of the Wrath of Khan, Into Darkness, which has
Oh,
again,
Trek into Darkness.
yeah, it has again great moments in it, but overall the movie doesn't coherently hold up.
Yeah.
And then the last one, everybody seemed like they were bored and they'd rather be doing something else.
That's because it was a boring movie, and they would. I still haven't finished that one. I can't. I can't finish it. I keep falling asleep.
Yeah, you're not missing much, man. The ending was kind of,
Yeah.
you know,
Well,
and
I don't know. I heard they're going to come out with a fourth one now, and
oh,
it bothers me because Anton Yelchin isn't there, and
well,
if you check off, you don't have the crew.
man, they've been talking about that fourth one for the last 5 years.
I know, and I get that, but I just hope it doesn't happen. I really
Yes,
hope it doesn't happen because
yes,
I don't want to watch one without Anton Yelchin in the role of Chekhov. I think he was fantastic.
I agree. I think he was. Yeah, I agree. He was very good. Have you seen him in anything else?
No, I haven't. I'm
You should.
judging it right off Star Trek.
You should. There's a movie on Amazon Prime. I'm trying to remember the name of it. Here, I'll just look it up. Anyway, he plays a guy who sees dead people.
Okay, like Sixth
Uh,
Sense type dead people.
like yeah, except he's like, imagine the kid from The Sixth Sense is years down the road where he's had practice helping people who are dead.
Fair.
Um, and I believe it's based on a Dean Koontz novel.
Okay,
Um,
you're not talking about like Odd Thomas, are you?
that's the one. Yeah, Odd Thomas.
See, I keep meaning to watch that. I just haven't gotten around to it yet.
It's surprisingly enjoyable. It's got a little bit of the issue with the special effects, the same way that the Frighteners did with Peter Jackson.
Okay,
Like some of the effects kind of take you out of the scariness of it.
right, right.
But he was good in it. He was really good in it. He also was in, and I'm not going to say it was a good movie, but it was certainly better than some of the other sequels. Terminator Salvation as young Kyle Reese,
Fair enough.
and he was pretty good in that. In fact, everybody was pretty good in that. It's just again, it was a matter of script and direction.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, he's apparently been in a bunch of stuff before he passed. And I've only seen him in a handful of things myself, but he was always good. I think he was in a remake of Fright Night too, opposite Colin Farrell, or was that someone else?
I believe so. Let me find out for you though.
Oh, yep, that was him.
Nice.
Yep, got it pulled up right here. Which I mean, I remember the original Fright Night. I was a kid when that came out.
Mhm.
But yeah, you should definitely check that out. That's good stuff. Bernie, good to see you. Sorry I missed you coming in. And as Chris Pine, you're gonna have to define what you mean there. You mean as Kirk, or as an actor, or as a human being, or what?
I think he did pretty decent as Kirk. I mean, he wasn't great, but
Mm-hmm.
he did okay.
Yeah, I liked him. I liked him fine. I liked most of the casting actually of the JJ cast. It just the movies weren't that good, and I don't believe it was any one of the, like, take Carl Urban for example as Bones.
Oh yeah, that was a phenomenal cast choice. I mean, he channeled DeForest Kelly with that, and it was amazing.
Well, even then, he also made it his own, which is a hallmark of a good actor. He was obviously playing the same character, but he was playing
Right.
it. It was Carl Urban playing the character, not DeForest Kelly. And Carl Urban is one of those guys who can take the shittiest script and make it
Carl
better.
Urban is like the epitome of the hey, I know that guy, actor,
Yeah.
because he's been in so much stuff and people just don't realize it.
Well, they're starting to now. He got pretty notorious with Dread,
Yeah,
and then
which
which
apparently
was funny.
he would be excited to make more of those movies, and I'd love to see more of the Dread movies.
Yeah, which is funny because it tells you the quality of actor he is because he didn't take his helmet off once.
Yep. No, it's
He
his
didn't show his
whole thing.
face.
He's like the character never takes his helmet off. I'm never taking my helmet off.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. I found the casting was great. The story was too compressed, in your opinion. Yeah, I think that's a fair assessment, Bernie.
Yeah, I can agree with that.
I think that's a fair assessment.
Definitely in Star Trek Into Darkness. It was way too compressed.
Right. And so I don't know. Almost everything JJ touches turns to shit at some point, and you'll notice that with a handful of exceptions, like almost everything he does, like Disney, is stomp on someone else's work.
Yep.
He did it with Star Wars. He's done it with Star Trek. He's got a contract with Amazon to do some Lord of the Rings shit at some point. He hired Ta-Nehisi Coates to do a Black Superman movie, which, by the way, is never going to happen. But, um, you know, especially not with the shit that's going down with WB right now. They are imploding. I think they're firing like 70% of their workforce.
Jesus.
And they are removing shit without warning on HBO Max left and right. They're probably going to dismantle HBO Max entirely and absorb that into a new Discovery thing.
See, I figured that'd go the other way around.
No, Discovery is the controlling interest here.
That figures. And I do not want to get online with Discovery Plus unless they
Yeah.
migrate my HBO Max subscription over there. Then I'm all right with it.
I'm not doing this again, man. I had the DC app, a while back where they had all of the DC superhero stuff, the animated movies, the old Christopher Reeve movies, all the stuff that they've ever done was all in one location. Plus, I could access almost their entire comics database.
Right.
And you're talking, almost 80 plus years of comics, from all across. I mean, I could read the most obscure DC shit. It was awesome. And then they started producing their own stuff, most of which was woke crap, like Titans, for example, which I watched most of, or Doom Patrol, which the first season, by the way, guys, Doom Patrol, excellent. After that, it just gets bad. But the very first season is really good. They did Harley Quinn animated show, which I believe I did recommend to you before I changed my mind about it.
I've watched clips from it. Some clips are pretty funny. Like when they pull off Batman's cowl and Joker's like, "You got to be fucking kidding me."
Yeah.
Where's my electric car, Bruce?
I mean, I'll give you that. And there are a few good jokes in it, but overall, it's how Harley and Ivy end up becoming lesbian lovers. That's pretty much the story arc.
Yeah, and I get it. It's canon in the comics, but Jesus Christ, people.
Yeah, but it's canon in comics that were written after 2007.
True.
That aside, all of this stuff was available on one site, and then they decided they were launching HBO Max. And so we're like, okay, cool. There's this other thing over here. And some of these shows are going to be on the DC app and HBO Max. That's going to be great. And then they unceremoniously announced that they were dismantling the DC app altogether. Anybody who had their subscriptions to that would basically, you're fucked.
Yeah.
And all of that stuff that they had visually was ported over to HBO Max, and then all of the other access to all of the other things that they were doing with that app just gone.
Yeah.
And this seems like the same shit. And I'm not going to follow HBO Max over to Discovery either.
Yeah, fair enough.
I'm tired of getting
jerked around.
Pretty much. Yeah. I don't want to keep giving different corporations my fucking information either.
Right.
So
I've already got your information because I've already bought HBO.
Right. That in and of itself is annoying.
Yeah. I can agree with you on that one.
So, but yeah, they're going through some shit now. On the one hand, they are making some positive changes because Discovery seems to have a better handle on things that actually make money, being better than things that are woke.
Yeah.
So there's that, but I don't know. We'll see how it shakes out, but I'm not looking forward to the transition.
I've heard the same thing about the new Top Gun movie. I haven't watched it. I want to watch it because they just stick with it, and it's Top Gun. And yeah, John Wick 4. God, I can't wait for that. I fucking love those movies.
I think it's still in theaters.
Top Gun.
Yeah,
Huh, fair enough.
yeah. No, they're on track to get to I think 900 million.
Damn.
Yeah, not bad for after the pandemic.
Yeah.
During the pandemic, because they'll tell you it's during still, even though it's an endemic. Endemic is the word they're looking for. You fucking
Yeah,
assholes.
what makes me laugh though is they've officially said that unvaccinated and vaccinated are under the exact same rules now. It makes no difference anymore if you're vaccinated or unvaccinated. So,
Yeah.
well, it's not in the theaters where I live, so.
Yep. And Carrie, I agree. Fuck them all.
Yeah.
To a point. I mean, I get bored like everybody else does, and you can only rewatch the same 5,000 DVDs on my shelf so many times. I have a large DVD collection.
Yeah.
No.
Box most of mine up so that way I can move stuff from one bookshelf to my DVD rack.
Yeah. Well, I've been told too by many people, oh, you got to get the new thing. You gotta transition to Blu-ray. I was like, do you have any idea how much fucking money I spent on DVDs?
Right.
That's not gonna happen.
Yeah.
It's not gonna happen.
And you have all this VHS, you've got to transition DVD. All right, fine, I'll do that. All right, you got DVD, you got to go to HD DVD or Blu-ray. Nope.
Yeah, I don't believe I have that one, Carrie. I don't think I've even heard of that one.
Hunting at the Manor.
Yeah, I'll look into it.
That one either.
But yeah, no, I didn't transition from VHS to DVD. I still have all those VHS tapes. I did not buy new copies on DVD. Everything I have on DVD is only on DVD.
Right.
In my collection. So all of my VHS tapes, which I still have many of, which most of them still work. Well, I mean, there are a handful that got wore out, but
Right.
most of them still work. And I've got a four-head or VCR that works just fine.
Fair enough.
So I didn't see any reason to replace them.
Yeah.
Because they still work. They still work just fine. And I am one of those people who I look at a big 4K HD TV and all of the detail and the bright picture and how it's so much better than the VHS, and I don't see it. I really don't. The only thing I see is that now I can see fucking like Anton Yelchin's pores. And I don't need to see that. The whole point of being a movie star is so that people don't have to look at that stuff. That's what all the makeup's for.
Right.
So, but yeah. So guys, at the top, we started talking about something entirely different than what we've been ranting about here a little bit ago. Galaxy Quest.
Have you ever noticed our conversations kind of weave around like a drunk trying to walk a straight line?
Yeah, if the drunk was a snake.
Yeah, the difference is staggering.
So, but I don't know. I think it works out better this way rather than the structured conversation because it has a flow to it, it has a naturalness to it, a realness to it that you don't get with bullet points.
Right.
But yeah, Galaxy Quest was fantastic.
It was a great movie. I love that movie.
What was that?
I love that Tim Allen's actually a conservative actor that sticks to his shit.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I mean,
he's not. There are a handful of them out there who are pretty great in that arena. Although Tim Allen's the only one who's making like high budget shit anymore.
Right.
Which they just announced, by the way, a new Santa Claus movie.
Oh Jesus!
And David Krumholtz is coming back.
Really?
Yeah. They just announced that like last week. They said we were going to keep it a secret, but no.
Okay.
Yeah. So it should be ready for this winter.
Huh. Fair enough.
So, but yeah, he's a conservative who sticks to his guns. And you know what? I'd be fine if he was a liberal who stuck to his guns. It's the wishy-washy shit I don't get.
Yeah, the ones that just go with whatever the tide is saying.
They go with the flow of the toilet bowl.
Yeah. Flush right to the bottom.
Yeah. Well, I mean, well, I was gonna make some kind of shit related pun there, and I don't know, I lost it. It's gone now. Maybe it'll come to me later. Yeah,
It's like
but
the absurd joke that it was.
yeah, yeah, that was pretty bad. Uh, oh, that does remind me. I did hear this the other day, and I think you'll appreciate this. Also, being a dad.
Okay.
When do jokes become dad jokes?
I don't know when.
When they become apparent.
Oh, Jesus. Lord have mercy.
That's actually a pretty good layered one, but
That is. That is. Oh, my God. That's so bad. So bad.
Yeah. So, but yeah, Galaxy Quest was a fantastic movie filled with like Alan Rickman will be missed, is missed. That
Oh,
guy was a friggin' legend. What was it that you were saying to me just before? By Gropthar's hammer.
Yeah.
What a savings.
What a savings.
But he did it all British, so he put the H in front of the W.
Yeah.
What
a savings.
What a savings.
What? What the hell? Well, I'll tell you what.
Damn it, damn it, damn it. That
Damn it,
boy
pal.
ain't right.
I sell propane and propane accessories.
Those two boys I was whacking off in my woodshed.
Pull your damn pants up. I don't want to see that. God damn it, I'm have to straighten up in here. Ain't you them two boys have been whacking off in my tool shed? All right. Okay.
Yeah, we better stop before Mike Judge sues us.
Right.
Oh yeah. So speaking of, I mean, I wouldn't call him necessarily conservative, but he's definitely more centrist. Mike Judge, calling it like he sees it 30 or 20 years ago.
Yeah.
How prophetic was Idiocracy? And man, I think that movie's retarded, but it's right on the ball.
Yeah. I would say I'm just waiting for, President Camacho, whatever, Mountain Dew, something.
Right.
It's going to happen. It's going to happen.
Yeah, but no, there were a handful of movies from earlier eras that you can look at now and you can see all of the shit they were talking about happening now. RoboCop, for example. Look at Detroit prior to that movie coming out and look at Detroit now.
Yeah.
I mean, it is dead on accurate. Some other stuff like Starship Troopers, actually, in terms of the division between citizens and civilians,
Right.
That we're seeing a parallel of today.
Yeah. Yeah. In our bifurcated society.
Mm-hmm. Oh, even The Princess Bride, when he says, well, they're terribly comfortable. I think everyone will be wearing them in the future, when he was referring to his mask.
Right. Yeah. Didn't see that one coming.
Yeah. Yeah. So that I don't know. Sometimes they get it right, sometimes they do. But I think the movie industry as a whole is kind of
Screwed.
collapsing under its own weight and its own sense of self-importance.
Yeah.
And also all of the money
These
that they stole.
celebrities started coming out, thinking that they knew better than we do about, politics and how to live and all that happy horse shit. That's what really just kind of tore it for me. I mean, no offense, buddy. I watch you to be entertained. I don't listen to you for, any kind of guidance or anything like that. I frankly don't give a shit what your opinion is or what your political stance is. Do you make entertaining movies? Yes, then make entertaining movies and shut the fuck up.
Also, I'd like a refund for all that money that the government gave you.
Yeah, for sure.
Because you didn't need it and you didn't deserve it.
Yep.
And neither did the government.
Nope.
And that's, I think I mentioned this to you the other day. I never, not to get too far into politics, but I never, ever thought that I'd find myself agreeing with the libertarian, any libertarian stances whatsoever. But like taxation is theft, absolutely fucking A right is.
Yep.
They tax you when you die.
Yep.
I mean,
death and taxes, man. They're the two universal constants. I mean, it's not a joke. That's honestly what it is. You can die and you will pay taxes. You'll even pay taxes after you die. which the estate tax, that's just bullshit. I mean,
Inheritance tax,
yeah.
sales tax on the coffin.
What pisses me off though, all right, is we get taxed on the money that we earn, and then we get taxed on the money that we spend. And then like property taxes really bug the shit out of me because, oh, you own this piece of land, but you still have to pay taxes on it.
Hmm.
Oh, because you don't really own it. I mean, really.
Well,
It's just
they
a
do the
sign.
same with with any kind of money that comes your way. Like, say you invest something, then you got capital gains tax on top of that.
Yep.
You know,
And really the only way to get around paying any of that stuff is to invest it in something and technically show a loss where you didn't lose any money, but technically you did,
yeah, I don't know. I
or at
just,
least technically you didn't make any money.
yeah, and and this is like take even just basic income tax, right? So
Right.
I have a day job, folks. Most of you know this. This day job, I work 40 hours a week. I'm very careful not to go over 40 hours a week because I have to do something with that extra time. I either have to bank it, flex it, or I take the overtime. Now, if I take the overtime, that puts me into a higher tax bracket. When I go into that higher tax bracket, I get taxed more. So any amount of overtime that I make usually ends up with a lower net income after all of the tax has been taken out of it than I would have gotten if I had just worked the 40 fucking hours. So I end up working a little bit for free.
Yeah, you can get, and I've done the math and broke it down. You can get between 45 and 50 hours, and anything after 50 hours, you're really just paying taxes. I mean, honestly. Prior to that, yeah, you're making a little bit more money, and yeah, it might bump you into the higher tax bracket. But the way tax brackets work is you only pay a certain percentage on the amount in excess of the top end of that tax bracket. So, like, say it's the $50,000 tax bracket, and then you jump into the 50,001 to whatever 70 or 80,000, I think is what it is.
Sure, sure, but I mean, I'm not in a particularly high tax bracket in the first place.
Right.
I'm on the low end of most of the people I even know personally. Uh, However, what I'm getting at is that my actual in hand cash in hand check is bigger if I don't work the overtime than if I do.
Fair enough. Mine is not.
Yeah. So I'd have to work a lot of overtime in order to make any difference there. And of course, that's never really an option where I'm at because of who I work for and how that operates.
Right, right.
So, but I work for the government.
Big Brother is watching.
Yeah. Well, and folks, if you ever wonder why I don't show my face or my name, that's a big part of it.
Fair
You
enough.
know, um, it is. It just flat is because they watch all of us. Uh, they watch our social media accounts. They watch how we conduct ourselves out and about. And all that. And if there's anything untoward or anything that they just don't particularly like about you, they will use it against you. So, and that's, by the way, I'm not even talking like state or federal. Local is just as bad. In fact, again, not to get too deeply into politics, you want to see real change, local. That's
Damn.
where you see it at because everything else stems from there. All these shitheads in Washington making these bad calls, every fucking one of them started out at the local level.
Yep. So, and since it's, election time in an election year, I am obliged to say this. Get out there and vote. Vote for whoever you feel will do the job the best, but get out there and vote. And if you don't vote, don't bitch because you you might think, well, my vote doesn't count. Yes, it does. And if you do not vote and make your little American voice heard, I don't really give half a shit about your problems.
I am inclined to agree. I also cherish my right to bitch. It is one of my most favorite rights I could ever hold. It's one of my favorite things to do is bitch about anything and everything, anytime that I want, anyhow that I want.
Yep. But
And
go
I
out there
vote.
and vote.
I do. I vote.
So
I've actually voted in my state's primary here recently. Um, but
not
I
probably a few more
huh?
days.
Well, if you do anything with your registration prior to that, they require you to
Oh,
vote on that day, and I had to make sure that something was correct on my forms,
gotcha.
and so I had to go redo everything, and because I did that, they require you to vote on the day, so I ended up voting the primary early.
Oh, fair enough.
So, you know what? Actually, Bernie, yeah, yeah. It's like I don't know how much you follow. Uh, I know we see you over at Amir's channel. I know you're on Carrie's channel quite a bit. Um, I don't know how much you know about Undead Chronic, but yeah, that's kind of what happened to him. I don't know all the details, so I'm not going to speak too much to that. But yeah, it had to do with agents showing up and telling him to knock it off.
Yeah.
And again, I don't know all the details, and I may be mistaken about stuff, so don't take my word for it. I just know that there was some involvement in that, and yeah, and that happened about a week before the Mar-a-Lago raid.
Yeah.
Same people.
I'm from the
So
government and I'm here to help.
yeah, and again, these are just the cases that I know about, and the second one, obviously, everybody knows about.
Right.
Who knows what else they're doing. At a certain point, they stop being peace officers and they become jackbooted law enforcement.
Hmm.
At which point they are the enemy of the people. Period. So just be wary, keep your eyes open, don't do anything stupid, don't draw attention to yourself, but you know, don't let them cross that fucking line in the sand either.
Yeah.
So, and no, Mama Susan, I'm not advocating for any one thing or another. I'm just saying, caution is always a better approach.
Agreed.
Not to. I'm deliberately picking my words here. I got no problem saying retard,
Right.
but
Right.
the other thing might get me into trouble with people with guns. So,
Yeah. Yeah. Let's try and avoid that, shall we?
yeah. So, um, yeah. In conclusion, Galaxy Quest is awesome.
It is a phenomenal movie. If you haven't watched it, go watch it. If you haven't watched it lately, go watch it again.
Yeah, I
Please,
know. I
love
know.
of God.
We started on that and we kind of like danced around it for an hour, which is great. But yeah, it is. It's a great movie. I would definitely recommend it to anyone who hasn't seen it. Definitely anyone who's seen Trek and hasn't seen it.
Yeah.
It's and for the most part, it's kid friendly. You can show it to your children. You know, it's really not too. It's. I think it's rated PG-13, right?
I think it's only rated PG. Actually,
Well,
give me 1 second here, and I will tell you. But it's a great movie.
yeah, but even if it was PG-13, it's on the more family friendly end of that.
It's only rated PG.
Oh, good, good, good. Back when ratings still had a modicum of meaning.
Yeah. Yeah.
Before they got, I mean, they're dropping f bombs in PG-13 movies now.
The law used to be, or the rule used to be, is you could only say fuck once in a PG-13 movie.
It's still that.
Really? Because I'm pretty sure there's PG-13 movies out there where they say it a lot more than once.
Well, there may be. I don't know. I don't think any of that was enforced. And for the record, by the way, none of that is law. The
Yeah.
MPAA is a civilian organization. It is an oversight committee that has nothing to do with the federal government.
Right.
Now they work a lot of times in conjunction with things like the FCC, but they are not, in fact, a part of that. You don't actually have to do what they say, but they will go around like leftists do a lot of times these days and picket the shit out of venues and make sure that you can't get your stuff played anywhere if you
Yeah.
don't abide by their things. Same thing happened with the Comics Code Authority in the 50s and 60s. And then I mean it's just civilian oversight, and censorship. It's like, we don't like this thing, therefore you can't do this thing unless you abide by our thing.
Yeah.
And our thing is stupid, but you're still going to do it, or we're going to ensure that you can't sell your thing that we don't like.
Hmm.
So yeah, it's a whole mess. But I think that in this case, it's probably a good rating for that movie, because I think obviously you want some discretion. Like a 3-year-old might take issue to seeing holographic squid man being tasered,
Right. Right.
right? Uh, but over or the cute little beryllium miners who are also cannibals. I mean, there's some stuff there is, but it's mostly whitewashed enough that it's not that bad, and it's enjoyable. And there's a lot of oh yeah, and the pig lizard definitely was pretty gross.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
but but otherwise, yeah, it's a great movie. It's pretty family friendly. It's a lot of fun. Everybody who's in it looks like they had fun making it.
Yeah.
They look like they enjoy being there, like they enjoy their job. Sam Rockwell's in it. That guy,
That guy's
one of
hilarious.
the greatest character actors of our time, in my opinion.
Yeah.
He's really good. I was watching the 1990 Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movie the other
Hmm.
day. He's in that.
You serious?
Yeah, he plays the guy in the like tight tee with the kind of necklace bling going on, who tells him to go check out the warehouse Eastman and Laird at the end of the movie.
Huh.
Or when like Casey Jones takes out Tatsu, he's like, "What are you standing there for? Let's get him." That's Sam Rockwell, a very young Sam Rockwell.
Right.
Yeah,
All right. I'll have to go back and watch that again.
yeah. So, um, all right. Next thing on the agenda that I have to bring up, I have to. I don't want to because it kind of spoils our fun a little bit, but I'm going to. There may have been a solution to the homework query that we have been giving you all.
Yep. Yep.
And I got a couple of them. Both Boa and Carrie emailed me with possible solutions, and while Carrie's, I think maybe I might give that to him is pretty dark. He said that fire might make your situation better if you're suicidal. But that's personal that's a personal perspective. Like that's only from your perspectives. But again, it is your situation, so there might be some wiggle room there, but I don't want to allow it.
little
Uh,
too dark, Carrie. A little too dark.
right, and then so Boa emailed me, and he said that he suggested cupping cupping therapy, where you take like the glass cups and you stick the long match underneath them and you heat it up and you stick it to somebody. Um, and I would say that I applaud the effort, Boa. I do. The thing is like the way that works is you end up the flame goes out as soon as the oxygen is sealed up against the flesh. So you're not actually on fire. You're just benefiting from the heat of that treatment, not so much the fire itself. You're not on fire. If you see where I'm going with that.
Yep.
But the solution was posited by my mother, who called me, and she sliced right through the Gordian knot.
Yeah.
Right
Just
through it.
cut that bitch right in half.
It was a very Alexander the Great move from my mother of all people. Uh, and she said, "All right, now, so last time we talked about a scenario that involved being trapped between two vehicles, right? Like squashed between, legs are crushed, right? Being on fire would make that worse. Obviously, there's no way it could possibly make it better, except this way. Being on fire might mean that somebody who is a little ways off would be alerted to your presence and therefore might make it over in time to put you out and save your life, in which case being on fire allowed that person
To see you.
to see you, which I really hate to admit it, but I think that works."
Yeah. Yeah, I agree.
No.
I think the riddle's been solved. So I guess we'll have to figure out some new homework for you guys next week.
Yeah, I got nothing this week. But I felt obligated to share that with you guys because, you know, I'm a little bit miffed about this too, because how long have you and I been thinking about this?
More than 10 years.
Right? Never once did it occur to me to see the flame as a good thing in terms of like, I mean, visibility even. Like what the heck?
Yeah, because usually you think, oh, fire bad.
Right, right. So I have to give it to shout out to my mother. I'm not going to name her, but shout out to her for solving the Gordian knot, as I'm calling it.
Yep. Well done. Well done.
Yeah.
Put
So
in there, bud.
now we have to put our heads together and come up with a new impossible conundrum.
Yep. Don't worry. It'll happen.
Yeah.
Think of enough dumb shit every day that it's bound to happen sooner or later.
Yeah. So super fun. All right. That said, I think we had a fun discussion today.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks for
You know.
sticking around and listening to our weird rantings about sci-fi nerdery. But that's kind of who we are. We're giant sci-fi nerds.
Yeah. Yeah.
Don't like it? Well, go watch a different channel.
We talk about a variety of things on here. Last week we had a conversation about something that was quite a bit more serious. So it's nice once in a while to just talk about something that ultimately doesn't really matter, but it still brings joy.
Well, and that was kind of my intention with bringing it up, because I
Yeah,
know last week we got a little dark, a little heavy. I wanted this week to be a little more fun, a little more lightweight.
yeah. And that's good. That's good because not every conversation should be dark. Not every conversation should be, uh, you know, just weighty.
Yeah. Well,
You know.
while there's a lot of heavy subjects and a lot of heavy topics to talk about, and inevitably we will bring some of those up and try and suss through them. It's my personal mission to spread some joy throughout throughout the world, throughout to as many people as I can. And I find
Spread
this
some something.
shush shush. But I find this is kind of a nice outlet for that. Try and maintain a positive spin on things and try and have a little fun. Because let's face it, none of us gets out of this mess alive anyway. So might as well have
Well,
some fun on the way down.
and like I told you guys before, man, the second it stops being fun, the second I stop doing it. But I am enjoying this, even the dark shit. I really do enjoy talking about it, even if we don't come up with any immediate solutions or whatever. But it's also nice to just talk about meaningless shit sometimes too. As long as we never cover anything that had anything to do with the Jersey Shore or Paris fucking Hilton, I think we'll be all right.
Wait a minute. Wait a minute. Paris Hilton getting her head cut off in that episode of Supernatural after she kicks the shit out of Sam and Dean.
It's funny. She's actually in a movie with Jared Padalecki where almost the same thing happens to her.
Nice. Nice.
It's a remake of House of Wax, which was bad, so bad.
And
But
it's funny because it was a wax museum that they were in
yeah,
that episode of Supernatural.
that whole episode of Supernatural was a reference to the House of Wax remake, which was terrible. If you want to watch a good version of that, watch the Vincent Price version. It's an excellent
Right.
movie.
Well, it's got Vincent Price, so
Yeah, but it was also not relying on a bunch of like pretty vapid actors.
right.
You know, um, I mean, I think a little more highly of that of Jared Padalecki, but let's face it, he's of that generation,
Yeah. Yeah.
and by that generation, I mean my generation.
He was in the Gilmore Girls.
Yeah. Um, but yeah, and I mean, if we're going to talk about her, let's talk about Repo the Genetic Opera, where her face falls off in front of a bunch of people and she gets embarrassed, but she
So
can't
happy.
blush because her fucking face fell off.
Made me so happy.
That's
Anyway,
good stuff.
everyone, thanks for sticking around, listening to us two idiots insanely ramble about stuff. That's really what I'm getting at. I appreciate
Yeah.
it, each and every one of you. Even if you don't listen to it on the live stream, I appreciate everyone that tunes in. Thank you.
Yep, I do agree. I concur. I think that this is a good thing that we have going here, and I'm hoping to continue it as long as we possibly can until either I get kicked off or I get sick of doing it, or I don't know, I get swatted. Whatever. I hope that doesn't happen, but
Yeah, shit.
so far I haven't pissed off anybody. We're too small now for anybody to really take any real notice of us. So that's probably for the best. But
Yeah.
thanks for coming. Absolutely do the like, share, subscribe.
For sure.
By the way, hit the notification bell. Actually, that for those of you who are regulars as well, if you hit that notification bell, it tells you when the thing's coming up. It's supposed to anyway. There have been some screwy things going on with YouTube's algorithm in the last 2 months, and they've been getting screwier, and a lot of stuff is getting weird about that. Those of you who've been following the Linus channel have seen that in action. But Yeah, hit it anyway, because maybe you do get the notifications.
Yep.
If you want. Again, that's entirely up to you. Do what you like, but we appreciate it when you hit the like button, when you subscribe, comment, especially comment. Please comment. Nobody comments on these damn things.
Yeah.
Please do
I want
talk
to
to us. You
I
know,
mean, we sit here and talk to each other the whole time, and try and interact with the audience as you guys are there. But the comments afterwards, those help immensely. So get on there, say something.
yeah, they do. Let us know what you're thinking. Let us know if you liked a specific part. Let us know if you think we were just being idiots. I
Yeah,
mean,
I mean that's
except you,
cool too.
Carrie, because I know what your answer is. So shut the fuck up. Uh,
I second that motion.
um, but yeah, just keep in contact with us. Keep it going. It does help the algorithm, but more importantly, it helps us make a better show. Rather,
Yeah,
you
tune
know.
this channel in a little bit better.
Yeah. So that said, It's it's been a good one. I've enjoyed this one very much. I think I can speak for Maesterchow and say the same for him.
Oh, for sure, for sure.
And we appreciate y'all coming along for the ride. I think I might start with a little bit of a different outro because I think it's funny, and also no one else is doing it.
Okay.
Um, so along with we are here to be your dancing monkeys. I think that's a good and accurate statement.
Yeah. So
But
dance, dance.
remember, no matter how dark it gets, guys, no matter how dark it gets, it could always be worse. It could be raining flaming cobras.
It could be raining flaming cobras.